Hello everyone, this is a trade review for JRCC which I took on, let's see, Thursday, June 6th, 2013. Now it was alerted twice by Jason Bond, but I'm only going over the first one. Sorry about that. Now, one thing I want to point out is normally, and as I've annotated on the chart on this image, my entry was 277, 278, and I would normally sell into the pop. But the thing about JRCC is it's a stock that usually after some sort of pop, it sort of just drifts or it possibly fades. Not to say that it always happens, but from my experience, a majority of times it just goes sideways. You can see after the big volume pop that there's just nothing at all. And right here in the afternoon, this was a second alert. So excluding this and this, it's basically nothing. It's a lot like OCZ, or maybe sometimes glue as well. These stocks that, barring any chat room alerts, anything like that, there's just not really anything going on at all. Okay, so with that being said, typically I sell a little bit of my position at the high of day because I know that it's going to fall back. So it's better to just get some out of the pop, get some of my a third or maybe a quarter of my position out on the pop, and then see how it goes from there. But with a stock like this, now I don't like to screw over any other people who got in after I did. So I held my entire position instead of selling a little bit at the top because I know, like I said just ago, JRCC. It's not like MCP where after a pop there will still be enough buyers sitting on the sidelines that are willing to come in after the pullback. I know that this stock is a drifter, and I just don't want to take anyone else's money unless it's someone outside of the room or it's a short trying to cover. So, anyhow, so after the pop, it comes back down to support. Sorry about that. It comes back down to support, and here it makes a lower high, so it's clearly not a good sign. So knowing this, combined with the fact that I consider this a drifter stock, once it came back down to support, I pretty much stopped out for maybe 1 or 2 cent gain, and from there it just went downhill. Now here's an example of what JRCC doesn't really do often. Here's an example of glue taken from the 7th, which is Friday of June. Now, after the initial pop of glue, it still gave you another leg up. And that's what I pretty much mean by a stock that drifts, which is JRCC. For glue, however, even after the initial volume spike, it still has another leg in it because there's enough people watching it, or perhaps enough shorts in this thing to give it another kick in the butt, which is very unlike its companion here, JRCC, where after the initial pop, there's just nothing coming in. No one's watching this thing. I guess no one cares for it to give another leg up. Now, one last thing before I end the video here. One thing that, the reason why I didn't sell any of my 15K position, which is pretty big for a stock like JRCC, is because, as I said, I know how this stock works. After a pop, usually it fades because there's not enough watchers for a leg two. So my little rant here is, if you're taking an alert like JRCC, don't scalp it for like 3 to 4 cents. Don't get in at, let's say, 278 and then sell at 282. Because what if, and this is a hypothetical scenario, what if you have a 100K short who wants to cover at 290? He's got his buy stop in, and he's ready to cover this thing if it hits 290 on the ask. Well, if you sell your position, before the 290 break, you're impeding the breakout. You're impeding this big time short from covering. Now, I'll admit I'm guilty of doing things like this back in 2012 because I was rather fairly new to trading, really undisciplined. I just wanted that quick scalp, and so I understand. But at some point in time, you gotta stop. You gotta stop doing things like this. I know people who have taken a 20, 25K share position, uh, and they'll scalp the thing for like 3 to 4 cents. I mean, yeah, it's great. You got your $750 probably from someone else in the room, but I mean, come on. You're, as I mentioned just moments ago, you're impeding the breakout. So stop. Don't don't take money from your fellow traders, or at least fellow chat room participants, but you just show a bit more consideration. If this were a stock that could give a leg two, was more liquid. Not saying that JRCC isn't liquid. I mean, let's say MCP is a good example. It takes maybe, I don't know, 20 to 30,000 shares in order to move it up percent, whereas JRCC it may only take 4 to 5,000 depending on how it is at the moment. So just a tiny rant. Yeah, stop scalping the room, people. Thank you. Oh, one last thing. When I say scalping, the number is pretty, it's pretty arbitrary. I would say if you don't want to, if you're going to screw over the room, you're probably going to only take 4 to 5 cents, and then type it in chat. Oh, hey, thanks for the 3 cent gain. It's like, come on, man, what is that? But if it's 20 to 25 cents, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Let me bring up. Let me see if my ZAG trade is still in here. Probably not. Let's take a look real quick. All right, fantastic. I found it on my website. Okay, so see, this is my ZAG trade from, must have been a while back. I should have dated it. Anyhow, my entry was at 513, 514, and my first sell was 20 cents over, and then 24, and then 28. And that's not hurting the room, unless you're buying a quarter after the alert, which in that case you're just obviously chasing, and that's a poor decision. Now, while I'm at it, if you look at the volume here for ZAG, let me see if I can minimize this. No, guess not. See leg one due to the alert, and then leg two coming in, and this is 122,000 per bar, so that's about a 250,000 right here for the second leg up. And that's what I'm talking about when I say a stock that's a drifter or isn't a drifter. In this case, ZAG is a perfect example of there being enough shorts in this thing or enough potential buyers sitting on the sidelines going, if this thing pops high of day, it's going to give another leg too, so we're going to come in. So there's enough people watching this thing, as opposed to JRCC, which is just, it's a sleeper, really. It's a doozer. But, ZAG, 20, 24, 28 cent gain intraday. I mean, you got to take that. I don't consider that hurting the room, because if you're going to buy late, okay, maybe let's say worst case scenario, a dime from the alert. So you're in at 5, maybe 525. So that's about right in this area here. And of course, 534, 538, 542. I mean, it's pretty good trade for me, I might say, or at least where I began scaling out. So that's all I have to say.